right, good evening. Sorry for the delay. I am Gaius Augustus. I'm a multimedia communicator. I want to apologize. We were supposed to have Kelly Stanford with us this evening, but because I didn't plan well enough in advance, we couldn't quite get the technology working. We are going to get that working for next time and have her join us. But for now, Jen and I are just going to draw for another 45 minutes or so until I guess we get tired of each other. And,
You mean we're not yet?
I know, and we'll continue. So Jen, if you'll introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Jen. I am a postdoc currently, and I just like to draw. So that's why I'm on the stream.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are coming through Twitter and you are on your phone, you can just click the stream and bring it up and you can chat along with us. If you are doing this through a desktop computer, you can click it. It'll take you over to Periscope, which is Twitter's streaming service, and you can chat in the built-in chat that is right along there. So thank you again if you are joining us. If you are with us after the fact, you can watch this replay, and I hope you will join us next time. So Jen, just so you know, your stream is, what's it called? It's like frozen on my side.
Oh, I see it.
So if you could fix that.
Oh gosh, okay.
There we go.
Let's see. Okay. Okay, I have to keep that window open.
Great. So see, we're learning new stuff about our technology every day.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna watch the stream and see, make sure it updates, and it did. So we're good to go. So I definitely want to talk to Kelly when we get with her about sources of inspiration in general. But I figure we can start off just by talking about what we're working on. So you have a nice blank screen. What are you working on today?
So I'm actually working on a manuscript, and I was thinking about adding a figure. So I'm going to be brainstorming on how to go about organizing that figure and how each data point is going to be laid out. I don't have the data per se. It's going to be pretty much just an illustration. But for now, I'm just going to be playing around with the layout and see how exactly I'm going to incorporate everything that I want to incorporate into this illustration.
Very cool. So this is for your research?
Yes, it is.
And this is a figure for a paper.
Yes.
So how much do you usually plan your figures for the paper?
If I have all the data available, then I just usually when I'm acquiring data, I pretty much have an idea how it's going to be, how a figure is going to look. So I guess I don't put that much time into it, but since this is going to be like a overall, this is like a graphical abstract or something like that, or like the last figure that summarizes everything that you've said. I got to play around with this to see what exactly I want to put, and then how exactly it will look. So then it flows correctly, right?
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So I am working on a project that I'm doing with Massive Science. I keep telling people this is something that I was supposed to have done a while ago, but just everything has kind of gotten in the way of me finishing it. It's a very big project, and so it kind of caught me off guard how much time it took me to do it. Right. So I figured this would be a good thing to work on today because it's something I really want to get done, but just haven't quite had the time to focus on.
If you don't mind discussing exactly what Massive Science is, I know personally what it is, but for other people who don't know.
That's a great idea. And, we should think about bringing in someone from Massive Science one day, too.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be a good idea. So Massive Science is, I don't know, is it an organization, a business? I'm not completely sure, but pretty much they're interested in scientists doing the science communication. So they actually offer a training program to help scientists learn to communicate science through storytelling, and then at the end of that, and they offer that training for free. Um, and the idea is that you go through that training and then you can write articles, and they will pay you for those articles once you've completed the training. So the training is free, but it's an understanding that you're kind of paying for it through providing a couple articles for free for them. And so it's a great place to learn more about talking about science through storytelling. I really like their methodology because there's a few elements of storytelling that I hear a lot from some science communicators that I kind of disagree with, like the idea that you can't use jargon. And Massive Science talks about the fact that you can use jargon, you just have to explain it well. And when I teach science communication, I always say you can use jargon, but you have to limit the amount of jargon that you use. You only use necessary jargon, and you have to make sure that you're communicating it well and teaching it well so that your audience can understand it. So I really like their method and their exercises, and I'm hoping to be certified soon so I can do more articles with them. But right now I'm working on a comic.
Nice.
Which is very fun.
So I'm currently going through that whole program too. I like that it's a community for they have a forum where you can look for jobs, potential jobs, or just post your write-ups for people to see. I know they've added some new features like lab notes, which allows you to, I guess, practice your writing. It's not necessarily published, like it's an article, but it's just like just for you to practice what they're teaching you. And then they started another program called Storytelling 101, which explains exactly what you were talking about. Like they mentioned, it's not bad to use jargon, but you just have to structure it in a way that makes sense to people. I really do like that.
Yeah, I like their program. I feel like I haven't delved into it as much as I would actually like to. Mostly because I feel bad doing a bunch of stuff until I finish this project that I had supposed to have finished. But also because I decided to join this project and everything as I was finishing my PhD, which probably wasn't the smartest decision I've ever made.
Yeah, but I mean, when are you going to have the time? And that opportunity, when is that opportunity going to,
That's so true.
appear? So sometimes you just got to take it.
Exactly. And, so one of the things that they were looking for, and one of the reasons I got involved, was they were looking for transgender people to talk about their stories. And I was like, that's fantastic. I would love to tell my story and just kind of get a better idea of the editorial process through working with a company for that too. So kill two birds with one stone, right?
Right. So you're participating in this through drawing a comic, but usually they accept all forms of communication, not just like written.
So I think they're pretty much, their realm is writing because that's what their editors have experience with. I don't want to talk for them, so Dan, if you're listening, or Gabby, or any of you, feel free to comment on the thread or reply to the message or the stream later on and correct me if I'm wrong. But my understanding is that their experience is mostly in writing, and so they there are a few comics and videos on the site, but I wouldn't necessarily say they seem to have a lot of experience editing those.
Right.
And whereas, they have a lot of experience editing written work. So I don't know exactly how that is going to work in the future. So if I had another idea for a comic, how that would work. But I'm interested to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I write, and I write articles and things like that, but I feel like I struggle to communicate through writing. And I just feel like I do much better when I'm communicating through art or through visuals.
I am the same. I enjoy creating figures, but when I actually have to sit down and write, it takes a lot more time.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because a lot of people think that writing is so easy. I've definitely talked to creatives who are like, well, you just put the words down and then you're done. But that's totally oversimplified for actually creating a good writing piece.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I just end up staring at a screen for hours at a time. And then people are asking, why aren't you? No, where's your draft?
Where's the draft? You should have had it done already. All you had to do was put words on the page. They didn't have to make sense.
There's a senior postdoc in the lab I'm working right now where he says that, yeah, sometimes I just, stare at the screen hours on time and then boom, words come up. Well, of course, he has to actually type them up, but
Yes.
So we're going to start producing show notes, and I guess we'll put the link to Massive Science there. So if people are interested, they can just go and check it out.
Yes, thank you. And you're going to reply to the stream and put it there, correct?
I will do that.
Fantastic.
After we're done.
So just talking about technical issues. So we had a lot of technical issues today, which is so funny because it's always funny when the technical issues come, not the first time you do something. Because previously we really haven't had many technical issues. Everything's just kind of worked, right?
Yeah, we thought we had everything figured out.
Yeah, never. So the first thing was that I was going to start simulcasting to YouTube, and the program I use, I tested it out a few days ago, worked great. And soon I had one problem with it, and their support team was fantastic and helped me fix that very quickly. But today I tried it and it didn't work, so I don't know why. And I'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
So, but I'm hoping that next time and in the future, we'll be able to do this to YouTube. And if that goes well, we'll be able to go to other platforms as well.
That's exciting.
Yes, I think it's really exciting because I don't love the Twitter platform. I think that I will probably keep doing it, but I don't think it'll be the primary way that we do it. But we'll see. And so then, of course, we had the issue with Kelly that we were having a little bit of an issue streaming from her tablet. And so we're going to figure that out and fix that for next time.
Yeah.
So that we know what we're doing a little bit better.
Yeah. Currently I am drawing on my iPad, but I have it connected to my laptop. And we're going to figure out how to stream directly from the iPad so we don't have to go through this laptop situation thing.
So if you're listening to this and you have used a program we are currently using Lightstream, which is a free online platform that allows us to allows me to kind of compile everything into the stream that you see, and then it lets us then send that to whatever platform we want. But so if you've used Lightstream before, if you want to give it a try, you go lightstream.com. And if you've used it before and you've gotten it to work from a tablet, which they say it doesn't work, but I'm sure that we could figure out a way. Mm-hmm. But if you've done it already, tell us how you did it so we can learn from your expertise and struggles.
Yes, please let us know. I was about to say something.
And just quickly, I got to have other technical issues that I didn't tell you about, Jen.
Oh.
So if you watched the stream before, you know that for the stream I use a graphical tablet so that I can draw on the screen. Normally I draw with my mouse on my laptop, but for this I figured I'd spoil myself and use the graphical tablet. So today I got on and started trying to use it, and the pin is dead.
No.
And I have a backup pin, but I don't know where it is. So I'm still using my mouse. So if you're watching today and you're like, wow, he's not using tools the way I would use tools if I was using my graphical tablet, that's probably because I'm using my mouse today.
And you're using Illustrator, which
I use Adobe Illustrator, yes.
Which is it has a pretty steep learning curve.
Yeah, I feel like once you get started in it, it's not so bad, but definitely getting started is tough for a lot of people. And I think the main reason that it's so difficult for people is actually just because there's a lot going on when you open the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So, right. So it's not, the program, I think, isn't very difficult to get started in once you know the user interface. But the user interface definitely is scary starting out.
And I'm sure that's it's a comment that Adobe has received time and time again. I wonder if they've made efforts to try to minimize it.
I'm sure that they've been happy about that because they probably think that also means that it's good. But a good program doesn't necessarily have to have a steep learning curve.
No, definitely not. But there are alternatives also to Illustrator. Definitely. Like I've used Inkscape before.
Yeah.
Which is it's pretty good, but it also is kind of clunky. It has its own problems as well. Like it's clunky. Sometimes on my laptop it would crash.
Oh no.
I would be making a poster and then it'd crash. And I'd be like, oh no, did I save? Did I save my work?
But that's horrible. It's funny, when I was in film, we used a program called Avid. And that was like our professional editing software that we used. And this is an industry standard software. Everyone uses Avid. And it crashed all the time. And so sometimes I jokingly say that a professional software is one that crashes at the most inopportune moments.
That's when you know it's professional.
Right. Some of that's the computer you're working on, and some of it's a problem with the actual program.
Yes.
So,
It's funny you mentioned that because a lot of software used in research, a lot of those software crash, and they're proprietary and the only software that you can get. So there are no alternatives. So you have to deal with that.
Yeah. I remember when I started in my grad lab, we were using a software I won't mention the name, but it was like this clinical grade software, right? Like really nice software that they use in the clinic to help diagnose patients and decide on therapeutic approaches. And it was
Right.
the worst interface. And I was just like, how is
Oh,
this professional if it's so hard to use? But I think we just are happy to have a tool at all.
yeah.
And so we don't expect things to look nice. And then the developers sometimes say, oh, well, all of that stuff to make it look nice just adds bloat to the program. And they're not entirely wrong, but there's something to be said for a program that's easy to use and doesn't crash, right?
Right. It, I I wonder if that's how true that statement is. It adds bloat to the program. I wonder if like it's just they're too lazy to go through the code and, optimize it and whatnot. I don't know. I'm not a software developer.
I don't know. I assume part of it is that you need you often want a different type of developer for
Hmm.
front end than
That's
back
true.
end, right? So it's expensive for them because then they have to hire front end developers
That is true.
to make things nicer. But I also think that anytime you're trying to make something at least visually more appealing, yeah, you have to add more like rules um, and yeah, so I can imagine that it does. It probably adds a little bit of bloat, but I'm sure that nowadays, with as fancy as our programs are,
Hmm.
and as how powerful our computers are
That too.
nowadays, that it's not that big a deal. Maybe when they first started out, that was a bigger
Yeah.
problem. And this program was like $18,000 a year. So I was
Well,
like, for that price, you can hire someone to figure out these problems.
right? Uh,
I don't know. That might be a naive judgment, but that's how I feel about it.
well, bring it up to customer service and tell them about it. Be like,
Yeah,
hey.
we just stopped using it. I learned how to do all of that in R, which is a
Oh.
free and open source statistical programming language,
Hmm.
and um, we were then doing all of our research for free.
And I'm sure that's just easier to use in general.
Again, it's got a learning curve. You have to learn how to do some coding to get
Hmm.
started, and but the cost of training me to do that was much lower than the cost of getting that program.
So since we're on the topic of open source software,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any or free software? Do you have any suggestions for free programs, like illustrating programs? I mentioned Inkscape, but
Yes. So I actually just came out, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, with a blog post
hmm.
with a bunch of different options, and I'll go through them. But if you want to see it, you can go to gaiusjaugustus.com and go to my blog, and it should be the first or second post there if you're watching this close to June 15th, 2019. If not, you can search my blog. So I recommend Inkscape to people because there are a lot of great features in it,
Hmm.
and I also don't believe that you should have to pay huge amounts of money to buy software. Um, and my like kind of mantra is that quality comes out of the artist, not the tool.
I totally
So
agree.
right, so a tool can make things easier,
Hmm.
but it doesn't. I had someone ask me recently, what tool do you recommend to make good art? And I said, well, if you are a bad artist and you get the best tool in the world, you're still going to be a bad artist. But
Hmm.
if you learn the craft, you can use any tool and make it work. So one thing I tell people all the time is you can get a pen and some paper, draw it, digitize it. You can use Google Photos to improve the quality. so that you can see it well. You can learn lighting techniques so that you can light it well, so you take better pictures. And you can make amazing art just with pen and paper or pencil. You know, a lot of my early stuff was colored pencil, and I would just digitize it into the computer, and that was how I shared my stuff, right?
Nice.
So don't think you have to spend a bunch of money on a fancy program to share your art with the world. Actually, Kelly, before we started streaming, or trying desperately to stream, shared with me a piece she just finished, and I asked her what media she used, and she used watercolor. And it was absolutely gorgeous. And if you're not following her already on Twitter, her handle is on the screen still, because I think you should all go follow her. She's an amazing artist, and she did the Pusheen scientists that are going around. She created those, but you know, that's not the only type of stuff she does. She creates gorgeous art. So I'm very excited to have her on next time. So if you don't like Inkscape, or you want something a little bit more painterly, like drawing as opposed to vector illustration, which is what I use. I do vector illustration, and vector just means that the easiest explanation is as you make it bigger or smaller, you don't get pixelation. So if you use a non-vector illustration program and you try to make it bigger, your picture bigger, you'll see all that pixelation. But if you're making vectors, you don't have to worry about that. So Inkscape, I think, is probably the best free option for that. But if you're more interested in doing more painterly stuff, I really like a program called Krita, Krita. It's a great program, and it's free, but it's just it was made for drawing. It was made for like making beautiful art. So in that sense, in a lot of ways, it's better than programs like Photoshop. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, I have. I haven't used it, but I've seen a lot of awesome art from people who use that program.
Yeah, I love Krita. And then the other one I suggest is Medibang,
Yeah,
Meibang. Have you used that one?
I just downloaded it.
Oh, you should
I'm gonna try it.
tell us how it goes when you try it.
Maybe next stream, I'll use it on my iPad.
That's a good idea. We should try out some different programs, and I've been meaning to do a like challenge where I try to draw the same art piece in different programs. And then there's another challenge where you give yourself an hour in different programs, and you see how much you can do. Like how much of a piece you can get done.
Now, these programs, do you need to know them in advance, or are these like programs you never used before?
I don't know. I think you could probably do it either way.
Okay. Because I'd imagine if you were just given an hour,
yeah,
a lot of that hour would just be figuring out, okay, what's this interface? How's this?
True, totally true. Although, if they're all that way, then they're all on equal ground.
This is true too.
So I don't know.
I think you should do that challenge.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I was thinking about doing some live streams where I do it. I have to finish a couple commissions before I can waste my live streams on fun things. So one of the things that I know is that most people have Photoshop. Not Photoshop. Most people have PowerPoint, right, on their computers, because for whatever reason, people have the Microsoft suite, the Office suite. And you can actually do really cool art in PowerPoint. So,
really?
Yeah. A lot of the functions that I use for every art piece are in PowerPoint, and they're not exactly the easiest to get to, but you can do them. And so that's been one of the challenges that I've seen, and that people have talked to me about is like, okay, well, are you really telling me you could do this same piece in PowerPoint? And I'm like, we should see. I should totally try to do that art piece in PowerPoint and see if I can.
Because PowerPoint does use vector to
Exactly.
yeah.
So if you already have it, you're already paying for the subscription or whatever, right?
Do it.
Yeah, I will.
Do it.
We should do it together one day.
All right.
And
Challenge accepted.
There you go. Yeah, I'm already
I,
spending an hour here, so we could just use that hour to do like sort of an hour version of the challenge. See how far we can get.
like 1 hour right there. Yeah. One day. And then we'll have our guests do it too.
Oh, that's a good idea. Frustratingly, this is not what I signed up for. So yeah,
Surprise challenge.
Exactly. So I really like the idea of being able to use a tool you don't normally use for that kind of thing. So those are the main tools I suggest. Every time I talk about this, somebody gets on me and is like, "What about Affinity?" So I've never used the Affinity programs. Have you heard of them?
I have not.
So the Affinity programs are like Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer. And Affinity Photo, I think, is for editing pictures, and then I think Affinity Designer is for vector drawing, but I'm not totally sure, so don't quote me on that. But it's a paid program, but it's an inexpensive paid program. I think it's like $40. So you can imagine it's a very reasonably priced alternative
compared to the Photoshop subscription.
Compared to Illustrator or the Adobe suite.
Oh man.
So that's something that for people to kind of look at. And they have coupons regularly, so I might hold out. If I were you, I would probably hold out on grabbing the Affinity Suite until it goes on sale.
Okay.
But if you really want to start drawing,
you could use MS Paint like our last guest.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I don't. Did we talk? We didn't talk about that on the stream, did we?
We didn't. Oh.
I think it was after the stream I brought it up. But yeah, if you watch our last live stream, which you can get to on Periscope, on my Periscope, and I'm going to, I swear, upload it to YouTube. I just completely forgot. But yeah, our last guest, Olivia, who is Liv without limit on Twitter, and she draws in MS Paint. Well, it's the Paint 3D or whatever, the new one. But I told her she was very brave.
And that's a testament to what you said before, that it's not the tool that makes the artist, it's the artist that makes the art.
Yeah, and her stuff is just amazingly beautiful. I really love her work. So I was so surprised when I found out she used MS Paint, because you look at her art, and I admit I haven't used Paint for a very long time. But I do remember drawing in Paint like back in the day.
Me too.
Yeah, and it was not the quality that her art is.
Like arting and or doing art digitally has made leaps and bounds compared to MS Paint. Yeah.
I don't know why they have. Well, I guess they stopped development on it and started working on this 3D program. I don't know what it is, but I've accidentally opened it on my computer before, but that's all I know about it.
Yeah, I have a Mac. So I'm not sure. I don't know.
You don't have to worry about all that.
I don't know does it have a default program? I think it does. I just don't remember off the top of my head right now.
I know it has like what iPhoto is the default photo program,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure there's a default drawing program.
Why is it escaping my let's just open this right now. No, not Siri.
Siri, draw a picture.
Oh, what? Hello? Okay. Oh, anyways.
Can't find out.
Oh, I'll figure it out later.
Yeah. Tell us, or you can put that in the show notes.
Yes.
And if someone knows, they can reply and say it.
Like, hey.
So tell me where you are in your sketch so far. It looks like
Uh,
really cool, but I don't know what's going on.
so what I have is drawing of the retina. You're looking as if you're looking straight into the eye. Um, and I'm trying to section it and display recent findings that correspond to using the retina as a way to diagnose Alzheimer's disease. And I'm trying to organize it in a way that makes sense. So there are two modalities or two like main modalities you can look at, which is retinal thickness and retinal vasculature. And I kind of want to separate them and group them in a way that makes sense. And so that's why I've been like pushing things around and drawing boxes. And when I'm like confused, I'll just like doodle.
No, I think it's smart.
How about you? Where are you?
Oh my gosh. I'm just trying to get the line work prepped so that I can color, and I just finished getting this one tiny piece prepped. And so I learned this new technique a few months ago that's really cool, where you draw using like
Mm-hmm.
the pencil tool. So
Mm-hmm.
like you just draw something and then you apply a stroke to it like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you expand it so that it's a shape.
Ah,
So now it's not a line anymore, it's actually a shape. And then you use the live paint tool to just color it in.
oh, I see.
So and you can actually recolor the lines and
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Nice.
See?
And
And
then,
then you can just separate this out and do some finessing as far as like, so I'm just going to quickly show you. So now if I want to shade this green area, I can use, I'm on a different computer, so all my stuff's not where I usually put it.
mm,
I can use the knife tool to cut it, and then I can like shade this region just by making it darker.
nice.
So I can very quickly make something that looks pretty cool, as opposed to before what I was doing was like drawing all the shapes. So drawing each of these sections individually and
Yeah,
then trying to control the crossover and all of that.
nice. Or as I would do it, I'd probably draw, if I wanted to shade, I'd draw a separate shape.
Right,
That's a shade. But wow, okay.
right. But the problem with that I had with that when I was trying to do that was that I would try to draw the separate shape and you have to like match the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would be like trying to kind of match up the line, and obviously with a mouse that's kind of hard. And again, I mostly work with the mouse. So here's the
Mm,
new shape, and I'll just color it in so that you can see it. So here it is, and then maybe I would bring this blue one to the front, but if the layers were more complicated than that, then it would become difficult.
yes.
And so this allowed me to make the perfect shape every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have to rely on my ability to keep a steady hand on my mouse.
Yes.
Because like you compare these two shapes outlined in magenta, and obviously one of them looks much more streamlined than the other, even though once it's done, you can't really tell.
Mm. That's the utility of Illustrator.
Exactly. So yeah, but it does mean that you have to make sure that all your lines are filled in. So like on this part, there's some white here that's not filled in. So I can't use this until I fill that in.
Yeah.
And it also means that once it's done, I can't adjust the line quality. So all this like thick to thin, I have to work all of that out ahead of time before I paint. Whereas before, I could just add a stroke to it, and I could work on the line quality at the end. So it just means that prepping the line work takes a little bit longer.
I see. It's going to look awesome, though.
I can't wait. So yeah, so I'll show you. I'll just scroll up a bit so you can see what it looks like in the end. Sorry, I hit save instinctively.
Yes, do that.
So here's a few panels that I did this new way, and they like there's a little like box over it shading it, but you can see I just kind of cut this area out, and put the out of the green area, and then I was able to just color that in darker. Whereas, let me see if I have another one that I did the other way. I think I did this one the other way, and so it's nice, but this took way longer than it should have, because I had to make sure that all of these, I had to use the Pathfinder tool a lot, which is a tool that lets you like subtract or add shapes together.
Yes.
And kind of build a shape instead of it just kind of doing it for you. So I just, I think this is a good example of, I learned Illustrator when I was in high school, but I used like just the basic tools, and then I did more of it when I was in college the first time, and then I didn't use Illustrator for like 10 years, and I got back into it when I started doing SCIArt, and obviously there's been a lot added since I last used it, and a lot of tools have changed. But this isn't a good example of you start out with the tools you know, and as you use a program more, you start learning new ways to do things, and more ways to be more efficient with the stuff that you do. So you don't have to jump in and know everything about Illustrator to be able to make nice art. You can kind of let it grow with you.
That's cool. All right.
So I think it's a good place to stop today.
Yeah, I think so too.
Our next stream should be on June 29th. I will promote and let you know what time based on what time our guest is ready. I'm hoping that we can get things working for Kelly next time. That would be really cool. But we'll see. We're going to do our best to try and fix that. I want to apologize again to Kelly for not working that out ahead of time.
Yeah, sorry.
So also, Jen, you said you're going to be putting up the notes. When do you think?
Probably by the, if not by the end of the day, tomorrow, I'll put up the notes.
Great. And I'll just try and retweet it when you reply so that people can see those notes. Yep. And I'm hoping to get this up onto my YouTube sometime in the next week or so. So hopefully that will be the case. All right. So with that, I want to say thank you to everyone who is watching, whether you're watching live or watching the replay. I really appreciate you being here. I did want to quickly go over the stats from last time, which I meant to pull up, but I didn't. So last time we streamed, the Periscope gives me an idea of how many people have watched, and then they tell me like per minute that we broadcast how many seconds have been watched. So anything over 60 seconds means that we've gotten more than we than we streamed. So last time we got 231 viewers. Again, that's either live or replay. And we got, for every minute that we broadcast, we had 223 seconds watched. So that's pretty okay. I'm glad we're not just talking to ourselves. I hope that next time we will do even better. So thank you again, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Bye.